Hey guys, Mrs. Takaski here for Chapter 6 of your Catcher in the Rye lessons. So we will read Chapter 6 together. Our literary element focus for this chapter is conflict. So there's external conflict. That's always exciting when you get a chapter with the external conflict. High action, right? We like that. But there's always Holden's ongoing internal conflict. So he's having this existential crisis of existence, right? We have that first person narration, that stream of consciousness writing that J.D. Salinger is well known for, and this is a great example of it. So we're always in Holden's head, getting his thoughts. He tells us, the reader, what he's feeling, and we, have that good heavy dose of internal conflict throughout as we also go through these navigating external conflicts. So there will be an external conflict, and it will be explicit. So we're about to jump into that. Before we do that, I'm going to do a screen share and just show you what kind of things you should be looking for. And we'll do a Be Now. So we'll start by just taking a minute to settle in, get ready. Without my headphones right now, because I realized you couldn't hear the Be Now in the last segment or the last edition of our lessons. My apologies. So I will put the headphones on for the reading of the chapter because I think you'll be able to hear it more clearly. But for right now, we're going to do that 1 minute, get focused, Be Now. And I want everybody to be able to hear it through this video. But again, I'll share the link in the description. If you want to just pull it up in a separate window, you can pause too and do it on your own. All right, so bear with me, get to my screen share. I hope everybody's doing well out there. Okay. So we've got our Be Now coming up first. And if you go into your Catcher in the Rye folder, again, you're in Schoology. You've got your Catcher in the Rye folder. It's in your Schoology page. It's building, right? We are going to have some Catcher 1 review, chapters 1 through 6 review Quizlets showing up. There will be a chapter 1 through 6 quiz that we're going to start talking about and preparing for. So be on the lookout. And the Quizlets in this folder will help you do review for chapters 1 through 6. So that should really help you feel confident preparing for that chapter 1 through 6 quiz that is on the horizon. With that, here's our chapter 6 notes and lesson. And the first thing we're gonna do, which again is what it's one of my favorite parts of every lesson. It's the Be Now. So you preparing to be ready for your lesson. And whether it's for English class or for any activity where you need to be focused, if you're entering in and you're not feeling like you can pay attention, if you have other things on your mind, you've got distractions, you need to take a minute or maybe more than a minute to get focused. So maybe you need to just get yourself settled and in a space prepared for learning. Because if you're unfocused and you're distracted, you're not somewhere that's conducive for taking in a lesson, then this isn't going to go so well for you. So give yourself that time to be present or to gain that sense of presence. And I again love doing these little 1 to 5 minute get focused exercises. So here's one we'll do together. I think this is another Headspace. They have great short little meditations. This one's called Let Go of Stress. It's a mini meditation from Headspace.
Hi, and welcome to Headspace.
And just taking in, you're not the only one that needs this. Look at how many views this little mini meditation has. So we're all in this together, needing those moments where we just need to gain some clarity. So do that for yourself. And if you're not used to doing that, it is, it's this great skill to start practicing. And it's almost like a little superpower when you can give yourself that time to just breathe and be. So here we go. So settle in, get yourself ready. And this will be our Get Focused Be Now before we start our lesson.
So no matter what's going on in your life right now, no matter how many thoughts are racing around your mind, no matter how the body's feeling, just take a moment to sit down and take a big deep breath, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. As you breathe in, a sense of taking in fresh air, the lungs expanding. As you breathe out, a sense of letting go of any stress in the body, in the mind, just feeling the muscles soften and relax. And close your eyes if you'd like to, one more, breathing deeply in through the nose and out through the mouth. And just take a moment to pause, allow the thoughts to come and go, and then just gently opening the eyes again.
So if you're feeling it, go do a little exploration. There's so many out there, and this
what I'm
is
about to show you is going to change your life.
popping into all the other meditations available. But do yourself a favor and find some others. And again, there's so many free ones. There's even apps that you can explore to take the time to really work on yourself. And it's so important that we do that for ourselves every day throughout our day, not just, here and there when you're so stressed out you don't know what to do, but just as an active self-care routine so that you don't get to the point of burnout or, exhaustion. You want to prevent that from happening. And these are great ways to do it. And they don't take that long. So with that said, we're going to go back into our review notes. So we've got chapter 6. If you need to do a quick chapter 5 review, there's a little review video here in your notes. Feel free to hit it up. And then our chapter 6 lesson is going to focus on the element of conflict. So Holden will have an external conflict, but again, we're also going to continue analyzing his internal conflicts that are happening, and we hear that in his stream of consciousness narrative. And then we have that symbolism kind of scattered throughout the book that keeps popping up. Again, that red hunting hat, which is this beautiful symbol for Holden's emotions. See if you can find that in this chapter too. And we'll also talk about at the end of the chapter where we are in the plot development. So we're kind of getting past the beginning chapters and getting more into that rising action, and he's actually going to be leaving Pensy because we know that's his central conflict, that he's getting kicked out of Pensy. So we're moving into a new part of the plot after this chapter. So just kind of being aware of that these beginning chapters are about to be behind us. And then keeping in mind, we've got these essential themes that are going to start showing up if they haven't already, and we're going to just be on the lookout for those to develop. And there will be a 1 through 6 quiz with review Quizlets on Schoology for you to prepare. So all things that we need to consider. So with that, I'm going to pop my headphones on and I'm going to get into Catcher in the Rye chapter 6. All right. So here we go. I'm going to go over to my PDF. If you don't have your PDF in front of you or open, take a minute to get into the text. And we are, again, in chapter 6, and you can just pop the page number in the top here. It's page 22, chapter 6. And you just press, the box here, put in 22 and press enter, and it'll take you straight to our chapter. So here we go, chapter 6, Catcher in the Rye. So again, keeping in mind, he is at Pensy. It's still Saturday night. He went out with a couple friends, including Ackley, to try to see a movie after dinner, and Stradlater was out on that date with Jane Gallagher. So we're going to pick up in chapter 6 with him back at the dorms and Stradlater returning home from that date. So again, this is still Saturday night. Chapter 6. Some things are hard to remember. I'm thinking now of when Stradlater got back from his date with Jane. I mean, I can't remember exactly what I was doing when I heard his goddamn stupid footsteps coming down the corridor. I probably was still looking out the window, but I swear I can't remember. I was so damn worried, that's why. When I really worry about something, I don't just fool around. I even have to go to the bathroom when I worry about something. I don't go. I'm too worried to go. I don't want to interrupt my worrying to go. If you knew Stradlater, you'd have been worried too. I double dated with that bastard a couple of times, and I know what I'm talking about. He was unscrupulous. He really was. Anyway, the corridor was all linoleum and all, and you could hear his goddamn footsteps coming right towards the room. I don't even remember where I was sitting when he came in, at the window, or in my chair, or his. I swear I can't remember. He came in griping about how cold it was out. Then he said, "Where the hell is everybody? It's like a goddamn morgue in here." I didn't even bother to answer him. If he was so goddamn stupid not to realize it was Saturday night and everybody was out or asleep or home for the weekend, I wasn't going to break my neck telling him. He started getting undressed. He didn't say one goddamn word about Jane. Not one. Neither did I. I just watched him. All he did was thank me for letting him wear my houndstooth. He hung it up on a hanger and put it in the closet. Then, when he was taking off his tie, he asked me if I'd written his goddamn composition for him. I told him it was over on his goddamn bed. He walked over and read it while he was unbuttoning his shirt. He stood there reading it and sort of stroking his bare chest and stomach with this very stupid expression on his face. He was always stroking his stomach or his chest. He was mad about himself. All of a sudden, he said, "For Christ's sake, Holden, this is about a goddamn baseball glove." "So what?" I said, cold as hell. "What do you mean, so what? I told you it had to be about a goddamn room or a house or something." "You said it had to be descriptive. What the hell's the difference if it's about a baseball glove?" God damn it. He was sore as hell. He was really furious. "You always do everything back-asswards." He looked at me. "No wonder you're flunking the hell out of here," he said. "You don't do one damn thing the way you're supposed to. I mean it, not one damn thing." "All right, give it back to me then," I said. I went over and pulled it right out of his goddamn hand. Then I tore it up. "What the hell did you do that for?" he said. I didn't even answer him. I just threw the pieces in the wastebasket. Then I lay down on my bed, and we both didn't say anything for a long time. He got all undressed down to his shorts, and I lay on my bed and lit a cigarette. You weren't allowed to smoke in the dorm, but you could do it late at night when everybody was asleep or out and nobody could smell the smoke. Besides, I did it to annoy Stradlater. It drove him crazy when you broke any rules. He never smoked in the dorm. It was only me. He still didn't say one single solitary word about Jane. So finally, I said, "You're back pretty goddamn late if she only signed out for 9:30. Did you make her be late signing in?" He was sitting on the edge of his bed cutting his goddamn toenails when I asked him that. "Couple of minutes," he said. "Who the hell signs out for 9:30 on a Saturday night?" God, how I hated him. "Did you go to New York?" I said. "You're crazy? How the hell could we go to New York if she only signed out for 9:30? That's tough." He looked up at me. "Listen," he said, "if you're going to smoke in the room, how about going down to the can and do it? You may be getting the hell out of here, but I have to stick around long enough to graduate." I ignored him. I really did. I went right on smoking like a madman. All I did was sort of turn over on my side and watched him cut his goddamn toenails. What a school. You're always watching somebody cut their damn toenails or squeeze their pimples or something. "Did you give her my regards?" I asked him. "Yeah, the hell he did, the bastard." "What'd she say?" I said. Did you ask her if she still keeps all her kings in the back row?" "No, I didn't ask her. What the hell you think we did all night? Play checkers, for Christ's sakes?" I didn't even answer him. God, how I hated him. "If you didn't go to New York, where'd you go with her?" I asked him after a little while. I could hardly keep my voice from shaking all over the place. Boy, was I getting nervous. I just had a feeling something had gone funny. He finished cutting his goddamn toenails. So he got up from the bed in just his damn shorts and all and started getting very damn playful. He came over to my bed and started leaning over me and taking these playful as hell socks at my shoulder. "Cut it out," I said. "Where'd you go with her if you didn't go to New York?" "Nowhere. We just sat in the goddamn car." He gave me another one of those playful, stupid little socks on the shoulder. "Cut it out," I said. "Whose car?" "Ed Banky's." Ed Banky was basketball coach at Pensy. Old Stradlater was one of his pets because he was the center on the team, and Ed Banky always let him borrow his car when he wanted it. It wasn't allowed for students to borrow a faculty guy's car, but all the athletic bastards stuck together. And every school I've gone to, all the athletic bastards stick together. Stradlater kept taking these shadow punches down at my shoulder. He had his toothbrush in his hand, and he put it in his mouth. "What'd you do?" I said. "Give her the time in Ed Banky's goddamn car?" My voice was shaking something awful. "What a thing to say. Want me to wash your mouth out with soap?" "Did you?" "That's a professional secret, buddy." The next part I don't remember so hot. All I know is I got up from the bed like I was going down to the can or something, and then I tried to sock him with all my might, right smack in the toothbrush, so it would split his goddamn throat open. Only I missed. I didn't connect. All I did was sort of get him on the side of his head or something. It probably hurt him a little bit, but not as much as I wanted. It probably would have hurt him a lot, but I did it with my right hand, and I can't make a good fist with that hand on account of that injury I told you about. Anyway, the next thing I knew, I was on the goddamn floor and he was sitting on my chest with his face all red. That is, he had his goddamn knees on my chest and he weighed about a ton. He had hold of my wrist too, so I couldn't take another sock at him. I'd have killed him. What the hell's the matter with you? He kept saying, and his stupid face kept getting redder and redder. Get your lousy knees off my chest, I told him. I was almost bawling. I really was. Go on, get off of me, you crummy bastard. He wouldn't do it, though. He kept holding on to my wrists, and I kept calling him a son of a bitch and all for about 10 hours. I can hardly even remember what all I said to him. I told him he thought he could give the time to anybody he felt like. I told him he didn't even care if a girl kept all her kings in the back row or not. And the reason he didn't care was because he was a goddamn stupid moron. He hated it when you called him a moron. All morons hate it when you call them a moron. Shut up now, Holden, he said with his big, stupid red face. Just shut up now. You don't even know if her first name is Jane or Jean, you goddamn moron. Now shut up, Holden. God damn it, I'm warning you, he said. I really had him going. If you don't shut up, I'm going to slam you one. Get your dirty, stinking moron knees off my chest. If I let you up, will you keep your mouth shut? I didn't even answer him. He said it over again. Holden, if I let you up, will you keep your mouth shut? Yes. He got up off me, and I got up too. My chest hurt like hell from his dirty knees. You're a dirty, stupid son of a bitch moron, I told him. That got him really mad. He shook his big, stupid finger in my face. Holden, God damn it, I'm warning you now. For the last time, if you don't keep your yap shut, I'm gonna... Why should I said. I was practically yelling. That's just the trouble with all you morons. You never want to discuss anything. That's the way you can tell a moron. They never want to discuss anything until then he really let one go on me. And the next thing I knew, I was on the goddamn floor again. I don't remember if he knocked me out or not, but I don't think so. It's pretty hard to knock a guy out, except in the goddamn movies. But my nose was bleeding all over the place. When I looked up, old Stradlater was standing practically right on top of me. He had his goddamn toilet kit under his arm. Why the hell don't you shut up when I tell you to? He said. He sounded pretty nervous. He probably was scared he'd fractured my skull or something when I hit the floor. It's too bad I didn't. You asked for it, god damn it, he said. Boy, did he look worried. I didn't even bother to get up. I just lay there in the floor for a while and kept calling him a moron son of a bitch. I was so mad, I was practically bawling. Listen, go wash your face, Stradlater said. You hear me? I told him to go wash his own moron face, which was a pretty childish thing to say, but I was mad as hell. I told him to stop off on the way to the can and give Mrs. Schmidt the time. Mrs. Schmidt was the janitor's wife. She was around 65. I kept sitting there on the floor till I heard old Stradlater close the door and go down the corridor to the can. Then I got up. I couldn't find my goddamn hunting hat anywhere. Finally, I found it. It was under the bed. I put it on and turned the old peak around to the back, the way I liked it. And then I went over and took a look at my stupid face in the mirror. You never saw such gore in your life. I had blood all over my mouth and chin, and even on my pajamas and bathrobe. It partly scared me, and it partly fascinated me. All that blood and all sort made me look tough. I'd only been in about 2 fights in my life, and I lost both of them. I'm not too tough. I'm a pacifist, if you want to know the truth. I had a feeling old Ackley probably heard all the racket and was awake, so I went through the shower curtains into his room, just to see what the hell he was doing. I hardly ever went over to his room. It always had a funny stink in it because he was so crummy in his personal habits. And that is the end of chapter 6. So just a quick conversation before we move on here and end this lesson. This is conflict, right? We've got these two guys fighting, and, you know, Holden, if you just read carefully, or not even that carefully, but you should be able to pick up pretty quickly what's been bothering Holden. And it's the whole notion that Stradlater's out with Jane. So if you go back to the beginning of the chapter, this is chapter 6. And if you think back to the previous chapters, the one chapter even said Holden he sat for about 30 minutes after Stradlater went on his date with Jane because he was worried. He was worrying about Stradlater out with Jane. And then he makes some comments, and he'll keep talking about it too. We'll learn more about Stradlater and why Holden maybe instigated this fight and why he's been worrying and having some of this internal conflict as well. So he said, if you knew Stradlater, he said, he was worried. He's worrying here the whole time. I worry, I'm worrying. If you knew Stradlater, you'd have been worried too. I double dated with that bastard a couple of times, and I know what I'm talking about. He was unscrupulous. So you need to know what the word unscrupulous means. He's worried about Stradlater out with Jane. He likes Jane, and he suggests here, without explicitly telling us, that Stradlater is someone that might make you uncomfortable if you're on a date with him, and that he might, take advantage in ways that he shouldn't. And that it actually shows us that Holden has this concern and this empathy and consideration that Stradlater does not have. Stradlater is just tone deaf, and he's a taker, and he's just going to take what he wants and probably be very insensitive, is what at least Holden's suggesting. And he says that, he's out with Jane, and we know Holden likes Jane, and he starts asking him. At first he's afraid to, but then he asks him about the date, and then he finds out that they hung out in this car, this Ed Banky's car. So this is the bottom of 23, and he lets us know that Ed Banky was a basketball coach, and he lets all the basketball players take his car out to go out on dates. And he's like, oh no, I've been in Ed Banky's car before with Stradlater, and Jesus, like I know what this guy does, and it's making him nervous. And then he almost tries to stand up for Jane in this moment, and he ends up getting so upset, and it is sort of sweet and endearing in a way. He gets so upset that he instigates this fight with Stradlater, and he tries to punch him. So that all goes on here. This is the fight, right? Page 25. And I'm going to stop my share. So he, Stradlater and Holden get in this fight. And Holden, is provoked because he's so upset. He's been worrying about Jane, and he doesn't like the fact that they were just in this Ed Banky's car, because Holden's been in Ed Banky's car with Stradlater on double dates, and he doesn't like what he's seen, and he doesn't like the way that Stradlater presents himself when he's on dates. And he's in a way indirectly telling us that Stradlater is an unscrupulous and does things that we should maybe raise our eyebrows about. And we'll talk more about that in a future chapter. But yeah, this Stradlater guy is a guy that you would need to worry about, and Holden is worrying. And it's sort of sweet in a way that he sticks up for Jane, and it upsets him so much that, he tries to punch Stradlater, and they get into this fight, and, Holden ends up with a bloody face over it. And that's sort of where the chapter ends. So we do have this conflict to end. This is really Holden's Saturday night. And then we see he's going to go over to Ackley's room in the next chapter. But this is really his last moments at Pensy Prep. So it's kind of ending on a sour note for him, if it wasn't sour already with the fact that he's getting kicked out. So he hears the music and sees the writing on the wall, and he's just going to try to get out of Pensy. He knows that his time has come. So that's going to be what happens in our next chapter 7 and chapter 8. Holden's going to make his exit from Pensy. So in the meantime, keep up with Schoology. There are review Quizlets. We're going to kind of have this chapter 1 through 6 quiz, the things that went on at Pensy before we get Holden out of Pensy, and he's going to go into New York City. So those will be the next sections of chapters. But it's this one long weekend. So if we're considering the plot, we talked about the conflict. The beginning chapters, this exposition, he's at Pensy. It's all this Saturday, right? So now he's going to leave Pensy and he's going to go into New York City. So we know he's from New York City and he has to go home, but his parents don't know yet that he's been kicked out. They don't, this is like when they used to send letters, right? So his parents haven't gotten the official letter that Holden's been kicked out of Pensy. So Holden knows that. So he's like, got a couple days to kill. I don't necessarily want to go home and face my parents. So you'll see he's going to end up with a little bit of cash and he's going to try to kill some time in New York City, just while like he waits to go and see his parents and tell them that he's been, or admit that he's yet again been kicked out of school. So that's where we are in the plot. He's leaving Pensy. We'll do a 1 through 6 quiz, and I'll see you next time for chapter 7. All right, bye.